This Side of Jersey podcast, the number one podcast in the world, is brought to you by the Puddin' Palace. Now, we have had the luxury and the honor of seeing this business grow from a small venture out of Miranda's kitchen to a full storefront located at 211 West Clinton Avenue in Oakland, New Jersey. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking, right? My mom makes pudding. I love it. My grandma makes it. Why would I ever abandon that? Listen, I'm going to tell you exactly why you would abandon that, okay? This is exactly why. This is not normal pudding, ladies and gentlemen. The flavors are unreal. They have regular banana. They have birthday cake. They have cinnamon toast crunch, Dunkaroo, cookie madness, strawberry lemonade. The list goes on. My personal favorite, thanks for asking, is the strawberry shortcake. It comes with the crumbs. It's the real deal, all right? It is the real deal. They have full-size pans. They have personal size servings. They have gift boxes. You cannot go wrong. All right, so make your way to the Puddin' Palace, again located at 211 West Clinton Avenue in Oakland, New Jersey. Also on the website at www.thepuddinpalace.com. It is pudding with no G at the end. So again, that's www.thepuddinpalace.com. Welcome, y'all. Welcome to This Side of Jersey podcast, the number one podcast in the world. Self-appointed. I am your host, Steven. I go by Ugly Steven on Instagram.
OGBs.
It's your boy I Robinson 03 _ on everything.
Indeed. Korean Tay _ behind the scenes. Today we got a special guest, man. We're very excited. Very excited to have her, to hear what she's got to say. But first, we're going to get into layup lines. Ready, set, go. Start work late or leave work early?
Leave work early.
Work from the office or work from home?
Work from the office.
Free lunch or free dessert?
Free lunch.
Video meetings or in-person meetings?
In-person meetings.
Messy desk or clean desk?
Clean desk.
Win the lottery or land your dream job?
Land your dream job.
Time.
That's time?
Yeah, it's time.
All right,
time.
not bad.
Yeah, she was
Not bad.
quick. Yeah, everybody used to be delayed and whatnot. Yeah, he was on it.
Yeah. Not bad. Okay.
Very
valid. All right. So let's introduce our special guest, right? So we're very excited to have her. She is a real estate investor. She is a former professional basketball player in Spain. She is also a content director and she is an entrepreneur. Would you please give us the honor of you introducing yourself to us?
My name is Lillian Chukweze. Thank you guys for having me on the podcast. So yeah, pretty much what Steven said. I'm a real estate investor. I'm also a real estate agent here in Philadelphia. Had some experience playing professional basketball and then got into real estate because I'm all about understanding real estate and building wealth. And I'm 28 years old, living here in Philadelphia, and I'm here to share whatever information that you guys are looking to get out of me.
Indeed.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for being
However
here.
you want. Literally an honor having you on. Seriously, thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate being here.
Indeed. So to my understanding, your story it didn't start with, but I guess your adventure started with basketball, right? So tell us a little bit about that. I guess your transition into professional play, like how that journey went. Just talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay. So my fellow hoopers on the call or on the video. So you guys know we're always working hard. So my journey in basketball, I guess my collegiate level started at Rutgers Camden, playing D3, and I knew I wanted to play in a little more serious level. So I tried to get to D2 or D1. So I ended up transferring to a D2 school called Golden Beacon College. And I basically worked really hard there. And from then on, I was able to continue my career overseas after I graduated, playing in Spain. And that's kind of, I guess I played 2 seasons over there. And after my 2 seasons, I was like, you know what? My second season, we won the championship, and I kind of fulfilled my dream of like playing basketball professionally. So from then on, that's when I came back home and started working and getting into real estate. So my career into being a professional basketball player was pretty simple, just because, it goes back to like networking. I networked to get myself over there, and that's pretty much how everything kind of happened.
Can I interject and just ask you, what was that first day like when you got to Spain?
All right, so the first day was surreal. I'm not even gonna lie. Like from the moment that I received the offer to signing the contract, see like the plane ticket, and then getting there, it was like really surreal. And it was mad cool because actually the 2 American teammates that I had out there, one was from Philly, and I already knew her, and another one was from Jersey. She was from New York, and she played at Seton Hall. So we were all from the tri-state, so we were all kind of familiar with each other in one way or another. So it was just real cool. It was really exciting being in a whole different country, getting paid to play the game that you love. So that experience was amazing.
That's amazing, really. So one more question. So what was what was one of your most memorable moments playing over there? And then what was a lesson that you took away from playing ball in Spain?
All right, so my most memorable moment was definitely my very first game because I got out there, I was new, everything, and I dropped, I think it was 32 or 34 points my first game, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be amazing. Like, I was hyped up. And like, for my fellow hoopers, like, it was crazy because it's a completely different gameplay, it's a completely different ball. The court is, well, for me, the court was bigger. I mean, it definitely was bigger from college to pro. And it was just, everything was different, but like, I don't know, that first game, it just flowed perfectly. And that was definitely like, it was just an amazing moment. And then you said, what was a lesson that I learned?
Yeah. So what was like a lesson that you took away from playing ball out there?
Ooh, that was a lot of lessons. Man, that was a lot of lessons. So I guess one of the most challenging parts of being overseas is just, not being close to family, or not, like, kind of just feeling alone. So I guess one of the most important lessons for me was to just understand that, like, it was like, this too shall pass, kind of like, you will get through it. You know what I mean? Like, it's really hard being away from home for such a long time, for months at a time, but just understanding that, at some point things will get better. And there was a lot of challenges overseas, but that phrase kind of got me through most of it. So yeah, just know that at some point things will get better, and you will get through it. If you don't die, you'll get through it.
I can dig it. I like that.
But yeah.
Yeah, now to jump into, so for like fellow hoopers, talk about just talk a little bit more about the game, like the difference in the game from, over here to over there, and how you had to adjust. Was it easy to adjust? Like you said, you dropped 34. But going forward, like, do they watch film? Is it as much film? Is it like people making adjustments, or is it still the same easy way to score, I guess?
Yeah, so it's very different. So so I'm going to talk about on the court and off the court. So on the court is very different. Gameplay for me was a lot faster. Like, coming from D2 to like professional, it was a lot faster. And all they do is like push the ball. So it's a really like fast-paced, fast break type of gameplay. The basketball itself is different. Like, like the FIBA ball is very different from like the traditional Wilson or whatever type of basketball. So it's a different type of ball you have to get used to. The courts are different. Everything on the court is very, very different. I don't know what it is, but I think the referees in overseas believe that Americans have some sort of superpower, so they don't really call fouls for Americans very often. Like, it was pretty bad. It got bad. And then Europeans, they flop a lot. Like, we see how Manu Ginobili did. Like, that's how they really play out there. So everything on the court was very different. Off the court, pretty similar for the most part. actually it was pretty different as well. I mean, we watched film a lot. Obviously, what was hard for me is that they speak a different language, so I have a translator right next to me. Well, my teammate was the translator. So I'm trying to go through watching film and hearing my coach talk, and I mean, at the end of the day, I can see it because basketball is still basketball, but that was challenging. One of the things that threw me off that they do is, I don't know if obviously it's not every country, but in Spain, they like to, like, before our games, like the day before, they'll have like a little, like a kind of like a psych party, but they like have beer and pizza, and like it's this weird thing. Like I couldn't get with it, like because like everybody's grown, right? But it was just like a weird tradition that they did, and it was like, I don't know. But for the most part, off the court is pretty similar. You take practice serious, run a lot, watch game film, and there's a lot of, like, for Americans, there's a lot of like community activities that you have to go to represent the team, and just like all this other stuff that you have to do when you're out there. So, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same off the court. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Lillian, I want to ask you something, because you said something super interesting earlier when you were talking about when you were introducing yourself. You said you had won a title and then decided that to put basketball down, right? And decided to pursue otherwise. Can you talk about that, just like mentally, emotionally? Was that something that you easily came to terms with? Because that sounds like, to the dreamer, right? That sounds like crazy, right? Yeah. Like to come to terms with, like, I'm done with this thing that I worked so hard to get. I'm done here. Like, what was that like for you, mentally, emotionally, or just what was that journey like?
It was a difficult mental battle, because everybody, and this is what I like to talk about this, because when you dedicate your life to a sport, it's very hard to like stop, like, abruptly. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you guys have gone through the same thing. So during my second season, I was kind of telling myself, like, okay, this might be it. Just because, one, I was putting my body through a lot of like torture with like injuries and just trying to get back and everything like that. And like, in comparison, especially for women's sports, in comparison to what I was getting paid, I was just like, man, like, I love basketball, but I still got to pay bills. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm doing all this, that, and the third to like take care of myself and like really put my best foot forward to make sure I'm producing and everything like that. And my second season, I was just like, after we won the championship, I was like, you know what, I think I'm good. Because I have to take care of myself financially. But mentally, it was like, you know what, if I come home and I don't get the opportunity that I believe I deserve, then I'm not going back out. I'm not going back overseas. And granted, like I said, the experience is like, it's like no other experience, but you do go through this mental battle of, okay, I'm away from home for months at a time, at least 4 to 5 months. Thankfully, if you have a break in between, which is like winter break, you get to come home and then go back overseas for another 4 to 5 months. So you're away from your family for 10 to 12, for typically about 10 months. So you have to deal with that mental battle. And then you have to deal with the financial battle of, it's not just all fun and games. Like, you go out there, you might be making $1,000 a month. As a man, you might be making $1,000 a month. Women making less. I'll tell you that for sure. To start, I would say you can make more money as you stick with it. Obviously, with championships and bonuses and everything like that, you can, develop a livable wage. But it does take time. So just the mental battle of, being away all the time, and then the financial battle of, not really making what I believe I should make. And then also me thinking about what my future looks like, because when you do go overseas and you come back and you plan to get into the workforce, you do have this gap in your resume because you've only been playing basketball. So it's like, when you do start to apply to jobs and be like the people are going to be like, well, what skills do you have to offer? And it's like, if you've been playing basketball for the last 5 years of your life, you don't really have much to offer besides your degree. You don't have much experience. You know what I mean? So that also played a part. And I knew I personally wanted to start a business. So I just kind of wanted to get into it. So it was a mental challenge, but that's something you have to overcome. And a lot of athletes have to overcome, is just being able and knowing when to stop. So, yeah. Hope that answered the question. I was kind of all over the place.
If I may, I just want to interject real quick. I just want to commend the fact, I forgot where I was listening to. It was like a podcast of some sort, and they were saying like all the great people in the world, all the people who are great in the world and who achieve in the world have the ability to rebuild from nothing.
Yep.
Right. Everyone, like you think about like he referenced like Steve Jobs, like, or like Einstein, right? Like you work really hard at one thing, and then if that thing collapses or doesn't go right, like you have to have the ability to rebuild, like to start back at zero with the same exact passion and move forward in another direction. And I just want to say like that was commendable. I hear you talk about that, like that's very commendable to like realize like, okay, I have to pivot my perspective right now. And
Totally.
and to end up where you are now, it's just like that's literally like that. It's true. It comes to fruition. Like the great people can rebuild themselves and they will be fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's tough. It really is tough because I mean, you guys understand. You spend your whole life like hooping and just playing ball and working hard and like this is it. Like, and then to like stop. Yeah, like, and then to just stop and be like, damn, like what do I do now? Like that's a mental. Like I think athletes should be provided, at least collegiate athletes should be provided some type of therapy or something, because you really go through a breakdown. Like at some point I was like, wow, like the last however many years of my life dedicated to basketball is done. Like granted, you can play in rec league, but it's never going to be the same. So yeah, it is rebuilding yourself. So that's a really good point to wrap that up.
Indeed. So you transitioned into real estate, right? So when you transitioned into real estate, were you working like for a company? Were you kind of doing your own independent like real estate venture? Like what exactly were you doing?
So no, when I transitioned into real estate, I was still working a job. So I was working this job, and then my brother came to me with the idea of starting to wholesale. And coincidentally enough, I guess we came across this concept of wholesaling real estate around the same time. So while I was still working, that's how we both got started. And he still works. But yeah, that's how we got started into it. And then at some point after a couple of deals, I just dropped my job, which probably wasn't the smartest thing, but I dropped my job, and I just decided to pursue it full time. So that's basically how I got into it.
Okay. So when you say, are you a real estate agent? Like, do you sell people homes? Like how deep does your resume go in real estate? Because apparently there's a ton of ways it can go, right? Like wholesaling is just one of them. You can, right? So like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I started out wholesaling real estate, like I said, and then 2 years started out wholesaling real estate in 2019, right? 2020 hits and things totally slowed down. So me and my brother were just wholesaling real estate, so I was kind of just relying on the income from our wholesale deals. But once it slowed down in 2020, I was figuring out that I need to pivot, because he was still working. He was still getting money from his job. He works for a car dealership, so he was still working and getting money, but I had to figure out another way. So that's when I decided that at the end of 2020, going into 21, that it might be best for me to also get my real estate license, because that'll help me, add additional incomes, within real estate to make for myself by helping people buy and sell, houses that are listed on the market. So yeah, it's just basically wholesaling real estate, working with real estate investors and being a real estate agent as well.
Okay. This Side of Jersey podcast, the #1 podcast in the world, is brought to you by It's a Mighty Thing Incorporated. Have you been eager to learn how to defend yourself? Do you want to get in shape? Have you been looking to learn from the best? Or just eager to try something different? From a hometown Philadelphia kid to a rising star to now pro boxing Hall of Famer, come down to Ivan Robinson's Kingdom Boxing Gym and Fitness, located at 4434 Griscom Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and get lessons from a legend. The magic is in the work, and the work is what breeds champions and legends like your very own former IBF and USBA lightweight champion, Ivan Robinson. Different classes and options are available. To find out more, visit kingdomphilly.com or contact 215-839-1400. That's 215-839-1400. The gym is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's kingdomphilly.com to find out more.
So I did want to ask, what were some horror stories inside of the real estate game? Because like I always hear about these stories of like certain types of tenants or different type of properties when you go to try to look at them, like it be looking decent outside, but the inside, the walls be gone, no kitchen, no stairs, different type of things like that. So what was like your experience with that when you first started with it?
So I've had a couple of different experiences. So
Mm.
being on the wholesaling side, you're typically dealing with like beat up properties. So what wholesaling is pretty much finding a property, like a fixer upper that needs to be repaired, and selling. Basically, you're like the middleman. So you find somebody who needs to sell a beat up house, you get it under contract, and you sell it to somebody who's actually going to flip it. So the middleman gets that fee of basically finding the house. So the beat up houses that I was typically finding were like really, really like messed up. So I'll actually just tell you about like one of the properties that we went into pretty much was, I mean, a lot of them, but in this one in particular, I mean, it was falling down. Like there was literally a big hole in the middle of the kitchen into like the ground. So like,
Boy.
I don't, yeah, it gets really, really bad. And like the roof was caved in, damn near falling on us. Like it was a really, really bad house. This was actually our first deal. So this is how we got it. So we actually got the house for $5,000, and people are like, well, how'd you get it for $5,000? And I'm like, well, I mean, it basically wasn't a house anymore. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So that was probably one horror story. But on the retail side of things, meaning on the agent side of things,
yeah.
I was actually I was showing a house to a buyer. And this is a multi-family house that she was looking at. So it was 2 stories, one on the bottom, one on the top, you know, typically to rent out and get some cash flow. We went in there and the house looked just fine on the outside. But
Yeah.
when we stepped inside, it was like a whole wind of just like cat pee and cat poop.
Ew.
It was disgusting. And
Wow.
you never really, and these are people living inside the houses. So you never really know the level of or the different conditions that people like live in until you like step inside. And some people really live like really, really bad. So like we
Trifling.
literally,
Yeah.
yeah, trifling. So we literally walked in and she was absolutely she literally almost threw up. It was so bad. And like I was, you know, my nose is covered. I've been through a lot of pretty bad houses already, but this was kind of new for her. So we literally walked in and walked right back out. And it was probably the most disgusting house that I've ever been inside
Yeah.
that somebody's actually living in. So I mean, you know, it's not the worst horror story in the world. I mean, I've had others where I went to houses with like crackheads and squatters inside, and then you know,
Crackheads, huh?
yeah, it gets. I have a bunch of
That's
stories, but
crazy.
that's just some examples for you right there.
So then let me ask, okay, what was some of your best and most rewarding deals that you've done? Some of the deals that you like, all right, yeah, this makes me want to keep going inside of this industry.
Yeah, so this is actually another wholesale deal that we did. So basically it was an old lady that we came across, really, really nice lady. And she just needed to sell because her husband previously passed. And she couldn't afford the mortgage anymore. And this happens quite often. So she couldn't afford the mortgage anymore, and she wanted to get rid of the house and move to I don't know, some random part of the country, like I don't know, like Louisiana or something like that, but or Arkansas. And she was gonna move to Arkansas with her son, and she needed to sell the house. So we basically were able to come in there and get this house under contract and sell it to somebody else who was looking to actually purchase it.
Mhm.
We walked away with a nice fee. She walked away happy because she was able to sell the house quickly in just a few weeks. And the buyer who actually purchased it was our real estate agent's family. So not
Oh,
only
okay.
were we able to get her out of the house as fast as possible, she got what she wanted. We obviously made some money on it. And then the family that we got inside there was, you know, people that were like near and dear to us, and they were able to
Yeah.
purchase it, move their family inside, and then move another family inside because it was a duplex, and start collecting income like that. So it was just like a really real, it was like a perfect situation for everybody.
Yeah.
And it usually does happen that way where everybody is satisfied, but because it was more of, I guess, people that were closer to us, it just resonated a little bit more. We're like, wow, we're really helping people in so many different ways. So yeah, that was a good story.
That's what's up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Lillian. Was there anything because it seems that real estate is one of the more intimidating careers to jump into, it seems, right? Was there anything that you ran into that you absolutely could not have prepared for? Like, no matter what level of training, no matter what level of studying, no matter what level of financial preparation you did prior, like, is there anything you ran into that like you just could not have foreseen? Now that you went through it, you can tell other people to look out for it. Is there anything like that?
Yeah. So there is one thing that happened. I was just talking to a friend about it. Just like the safety of women in real estate. So this is it. So I could have prepared myself, but I didn't really think about it until I got into it. So, but basically it's just as a woman, because I started out, like I said, with my brother. So my brother was always with me when I was going to these different houses and everything like that. So it did come to a point in time where sometimes his job would prevent him from, being able to attend everything with me. So there was a couple times, actually one time in particular, that I went into a house with a guy, and I was checking out the house, taking pictures and everything like that. And he just started making like these sexual remarks, and I'm just like, this is really, really weird. And he's an older guy. It's probably like 70 something. So then we start heading up to his bedroom because I have to take pictures of his bedroom and all the other rooms. And he continues to make these sexual remarks. And I'm just like, bruh, like, and I'm like, this could be a really, really bad situation. Granted, if I wasn't, well, I have some confidence that I'm able to protect myself in some way. But again, he is a man, but he's an older man. So I felt a little bit more comfortable. If something was to happen, I could probably defend myself. But then after like leaving that house, it made me realize that it's not really safe for women to do things like that, because if he's, anything can happen. It don't matter how old he is, but like a woman has to really protect herself in these types of situations, especially as an agent, because as an agent, you host open houses all the time where people come in and out, and you're probably alone. So it just made me realize that, okay, I need to protect myself. So self-defense is something that, like, self-defense classes is something that I want to take in the future. And then also you need to have a form of protection on you, whether it's a knife, a gun, whatever the case is, because women can get taken advantage of very easily. And like I said, it's something that I probably could have like learned about prior, but you don't necessarily think about it, because once you get in the industry, you're worried about getting deals done and everything like that. You don't really care. You're not thinking about your safety. But yeah, that's something that I had to, I guess, ingrain in my head that, okay, this is a real thing. So yeah.
Wow.
Get the strap.
Let's get you okay. Seriously.
Get the strap.
Word up though. That's crazy. Because now you got me thinking like I hear you say stuff like that, and I'm thinking like, damn, what if my daughter was wanting to get into real estate? And
you feel me? What if my sister wanted to do some shit? Like, my sister lives in Houston by herself. All that shit is important. So like, yeah, that's definitely shit that should be talked about. And even if it's not talked, you know what I mean? Like, we got to bring that up amongst each other. So that's the thing.
Indeed. Thank you for sharing that, for real. Because somebody needed to hear that. Somebody definitely needed to hear that, for sure.
And then kind of, go ahead.
Go ahead, Beast.
Well, I kind of like to piggyback off of that. So like, what would be some good advice for someone who is thinking about getting into either wholesaling or getting into the real estate game? Like, what should they have pre-prepared? What books do you think that they should read? What videos you think that they should look at? Or how should they condition themselves before they just jump into this field?
So as always, YouTube University is out there.
Yeah.
Some information on there. Some books that I would highly recommend. I have all these books up here. Some books that I would highly recommend, to get either on the wholesale side or as a real estate agent, because you can do both as an agent, which is what I kind of talk about on my YouTube channel. But two books I would recommend are The Basic Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and that'll show you not just wholesaling, but how to like actually build a real estate portfolio. And Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Both books are by Gary Keller, who's like just a big time real estate guy. So those are two books I would definitely recommend. And a third one actually I really like is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Yes,
and that's
sir.
basically, it's not a real estate book, but it just talks about the little things that you do each and every day that are going to lead to these big accomplishments, in the future. So those are three books I would definitely recommend. But other than that, if you want the fastest way to start learning, just hop on YouTube and start Googling some things. My YouTube channel talks a lot about being a real estate agent and a real estate investor. So I would I'll just plug myself, just go to my YouTube channel, and you guys will leave the link down below, whatever.
Yeah, you can see a YouTube channel and everything. Yes, yes. So
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
it called? Yeah.
My YouTube channel is my name, which is Lillian Chukweze. But again, I'll give you guys the link so you can just click on it, because I know my name isn't that easy to spell.
Because I already know a question that everybody's probably already thinking: how much money should I have before I get into this? Do I need some type of lawyers to get into this? With like, how deep do I need an LLC? Can I just do it without an LLC? So what are those kind of gray area questions? Because I know a lot of people want to, have that passive income, but they kind of get stopped at certain type of hurdles when it comes to a certain amount of money or the legal side. So what would you say with that?
So it kind of depends on which direction you want to go in. As a real estate agent, you're pretty much protected with like your errors and commissions insurance and by your brokerage, to not really like get sued, because the brokerage takes all the heat for that, if you do mess up. But if you are going to start on the real estate investing, you definitely want to have an LLC. I mean, it's not you don't need that for your first deal, but after your first deal, you definitely want to at least have an LLC to start flowing more and more deals through. You should have a lawyer, but as long as you do what you're supposed to be doing and you do your research prior to actually doing these deals, you should be okay without a lawyer. But at some point, yes, you do want to have a lawyer on your team. Like I said, again, on the agent side, your brokerage kind of takes the heat for all that. So it really depends on which direction you want to go into. Because sometimes I'm talking and I'm not trying to necessarily mesh the two. You can be a real estate investor and an agent at the same time, but you have to know how to navigate things.
Yeah.
So it really boils down to what direction you want to go into for me to actually get into the specifics. But at the end of the day, you got to do your research before you get into either or. When it comes to the money, as an agent, so I actually made a video about that. To get started as an agent, you're probably going to need anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000, because you have to pay for pre-licensing courses. You have to pay for like the actual license fees, your state exams, your brokerage fees, and all these other fees to get started. So I would say you need about $15,000 to $2,000 to get started. On the real estate investing side, you pretty much don't need any money. It is better if you do have money, but you really don't need any money to get started on that side.
So what do you mean by no money? Because that's going to be the next question that somebody's going to ask. So what do you mean no money? So I could just pull up to a crib and be like, yeah, I want that. You feel me? So what is the process with that?
You could. So like, this is the thing, man. Real estate is a hack that we all need to know about. So you can buy a house with no money. You just need to know how to structure it. So you can buy it. So you can essentially get a house and wholesale it, and that's free. That's no money. Or you can actually purchase it and get it like in your own name and everything like that, with no money. And there's just different ways to structure it. I don't want to get into how, because
they can watch your videos.
Yeah. So like, but yes, essentially you can actually get into real estate with no money. But yes, it's easier to get into it with money, because the money that's going to be spent on the investing side is really just to market for deals, to find people who are looking to sell. So yeah, that's how it goes.
Would you happen to have any advice for first time home buyers? So like someone who's actually looking to purchase a home, like to put their family in, right? Like what's some advice that you can give? What are some of the problems you commonly see? What are some of the loopholes people jump through? All that jazz, all that.
Okay, so first of all, our people, we got to know that at some point, yes, we should purchase a house. So, if you know somebody that's been renting for 20 something years, first thing you should do is tell them that you need to buy a house. One thing that people should know is that, renting once you get to a point where your rent now exceeds what you can probably get as a mortgage, like some people are paying like $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 in rent, for like for one bedroom, and you can essentially pay like $1,100 to own a house. Now, granted, there are more things that come with owning a house, so that's something to take into consideration. But you shouldn't be like so far out. Like you shouldn't be spending $2,000 on a one bedroom when you can buy a 3-bedroom house and be paying $1,100, unless that's really the lifestyle you just want to live. So for my tips for first time home buyers is to, one, get your credit in order. You can purchase a house with an FHA loan or different types of loans with a minimum of 580 credit score. But obviously, the lower your credit score, the higher your monthly payment is going to be. So you want to have a better credit score going into it. to help make sure that you have a decent mortgage payment. So
And real quick before you continue, can I just ask you for those, because they also will have a question of what's a good credit score to have going into a home buying?
So a good credit score to have, I would say, is about 650 and up. That's
Okay.
like a solid where, okay, the lender knows that you're pretty good with your bills. So I would say 650 and up.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my first tip, is to make sure you get your credit right. And to go along with that, there's ways that you can get your credit right by yourself, such as, paying certain things down, getting more credit lines, authorized users, this and the third. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to move like fast, I would just say hire a professional to help you do that. Because otherwise it might take you a long time, especially if you have you were trying to get off like major things off your credit report, like inquiries, I don't know, bankruptcies or anything like that. So you definitely want to make sure you use a professional to help you get your credit right. Otherwise, if your credit isn't that bad and you just need a couple more points to boost it, then yeah, make sure you just, do it on your own. So get your credit right. The next thing I would do is to definitely do your research on what type of house that you want, because in the area that you're looking in, because a lot of times people look for these different types of houses let me say this, look for a house that actually makes sense, because people will look for like these houses that are kind of like blown, like they think that they want this type of house and it doesn't match that their actual budget. Like they're looking at these $400,000 houses, but they really only may qualify for a $200,000 house. So you got to make sure that you actually are looking for a house that makes sense. You want to write down exactly what you need in a house versus what you want, and then hopefully you could come to like a happy medium. But you don't want to get outlandish and just be so caught up and emotional and just trying to find the best house out there that you actually don't end up buying a house. So definitely just take some time and write down exactly what you need versus what you want. And then what else? Another tip is to just make sure that you are continuing to pay your bills. Don't do anything crazy, like don't go out and try to get all these extra credit lines, because that'll hurt your credit. And then of course you got to get yourself a good agent like myself.
Yes,
to help
indeed.
you have to help, get yourself a good agent, because they're able to inform you with different things, such as different down payment assistance programs. Because another thing that people struggle with is, all right, now I'm ready to buy a house, I need help with my down payment. You might have to save $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 for a down payment. But if you deal with a good real estate agent, they might know different down payment assistance programs that may cover, maybe up to 100% of your down payment, which will really, really help you in that process. So yeah, get yourself a good agent. So those are my
Is that what you just said about that program? Are they relieving you of the down payment, or is it just getting like factored into your mortgage payment maybe, or? So
it depends, right? There are some that is like a pure grant, but there's others where it might like factor into your mortgage payment. So there's a couple different ways, but it really depends on the programs. There's so many different programs, like they're all like individually like operated. So there's a lot of different ways that it gets factored in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that you would be able to tell us, like, for example, because I'm you being a real estate agent, I'm sure like you can't help but notice people's pockets, right? Like you kind of you know what they got, what they don't got, right? What does it take, for example, to purchase, and let's say I want to get a $300,000 house, let's say, right? Like what kind of income are we talking about to give people perspective, right? Because some people might hear you say like, oh, a house costs $1,100, but like, okay, what kind of house is that? Right? Or like, what does that give me? Right? So like, what realistically in an area that you're familiar with, so we can say like in the Jersey area, right? Are you from Jersey or Philly?
I'm from Jersey.
From Jersey. Okay. So from the Jersey area, something you're familiar with, what does the income on a $200,000 house look like?
So for Jersey, so I'm actually licensed in Philly. So I do most of my real estate agent work in Philadelphia. Okay. Or I should say licensed in Pennsylvania. So I'll kind of give a breakdown for that. So in Philly, the typical house is about $200,000 to $300,000. And typically in that range, depending on your lender, you might be able to get a payment from anywhere from like, I would say $1,200 to $1,500, around that, depending on your lender and your, all your income and everything like that. But it's mainly based on your debt to income ratio. So I would say typically that's the range that you kind of want to focus on. If you have a solid job, let's say bringing in 50K a year or whatever the case is, and you're bringing in, you want to probably be bringing in around like 4 to 5 thousand to really try to like. I mean, some people make it work with like 3,000. You can. Here's the thing, right? Like when you go through the pre-approval process, that's what you. This is the application that you fill out for your lender to figure out exactly how much money that they are willing to lend you and what your mortgage payment will be. But when you do that, so let's say you want to buy a $300,000 house, and they say, okay, we'll give you a mortgage payment. We'll lend you the money for this, and your mortgage payment will be $1,500. Now, if your income is, like $4,000 or whatever a month, and they're giving you the max amount of money that you're able to go out and buy a house for it. That doesn't mean you should necessarily go out and buy the highest. You should use all the money that they're giving you to go out and buy that house. You know what I mean? It really depends on your goals and what you're trying to do. So if they're allowing or lending you that $300,000 to buy on this house, maybe if you want to buy another house, or if you have goals to invest in something else, maybe you don't go ahead and use all that money in that loan. Maybe you go buy a $200,000 house and get that $1,000 a month mortgage payment to help you save for other investments. So it really all depends. So that's more of like the specifics of the numbers, more so comes from like the lenders itself, which is why I deal with a couple really good lenders. But it really just depends. And like I said, you don't want to go out and just spend all the money that's allotted to you on this house if it doesn't fit your budget. So it depends. But yeah, I mean, $250,000 to $300,000 house, you could probably get around that $1,400, $1,500 a month mortgage payment.
Wow, that was some gems. Sheesh. All right. I'm it's funny because we on a pod, but I'm asking for myself, right? And I'm sure having similar things because like we're all getting to that point where we want to start purchasing, right? So it's like you educating everybody right now. You feel me? This Side of Jersey podcast, the #1 podcast in the world, is brought to you by Sleeves Inc. Antoine Dickerson and his business partners provide a customized product to organizations that you cannot find anywhere else. They design athletic sleeves to accent teams' uniforms for high school, college, and professional sports. A one-of-one product that's exclusive for each particular team. They offer arm sleeves, headbands, gladiator masks, wristbands, mouthpieces, and socks. And they are still also in the process of expanding their catalog. Visit Sleeves Inc. on Instagram, that's SLEEVEZINC on Instagram, and DM your order to get a 3 to 5 business day shipping deal on your order. So I saw this on your oh no, we won't get into that. I want to ask you about the entrepreneurship that we talked about pre-show. We talked about it a little bit. You have built a brand for yourself, right? Like you built this empire for yourself. You got the YouTube channel, you're doing your real estate investment, right? Are there any common misconceptions on the internet right now that you see that because like everyone's getting their entrepreneurial ideas from the internet, right? Everyone on the internet can tell you how to be an entrepreneur, and that's what we're all taking in, right? What's something that you see commonly that's just like that's not true, or like that can really be dangerous if like they don't explain that more, or you know what I mean? What's something that you see?
I mean, what I see is what I did, which was quit your job to be an entrepreneur. Now I have a higher risk tolerance than most people, which is why I did crazy things like go overseas and play basketball for not that much money and try to do all sorts of stuff. So entrepreneurship, it takes, you guys understand, it takes a lot of time to like really pop off the way people think. So like people think you just get started and you're able to just make all this money and be cool and like that's it. But in reality, the smartest thing to do when it comes to getting into entrepreneurship is probably not to quit your job. And I used to be like really like why don't you just quit and like just do go full time. And now I'm just like, okay, for the average person, it's probably best for them to keep their job until their their side hustle, their side business becomes their full-time business. Essentially, when your side business income equals or exceeds, I would even say exceeds the income that you're bringing in from your job, because it is hard to survive when you're just doing your entrepreneur thing. And also what's hard about it is that as an entrepreneur, you're trying to bring in money for your business, but you also have to live, right? So now when you finally do start bringing in money from your business, you're now using your profit from your business to now just live. Versus if you have a job, you're able to actually live off the funds of your job and reinvest whatever you get, whatever extra from your job. And then whatever comes from your business, the profits that come from your business, you can now just directly reinvest that back into the business. See, what I did was I got a couple deals and then I quit. And so like all the money that came from just my real estate deals, I had to use that to feed myself and reinvest back into the business. So essentially I'm cutting my own profits. You get what I'm saying? So logically, I would say for the average person, it's probably best to just, keep that job. So that's one thing that's been all around the internet. And I even used to say that too. So like, I'm at fault as well. It's just like, jump off the bridge, quit your job and just, go full time. But in reality, it's rough. It's not easy, especially if you have a family. I wouldn't even, it's rough for me as a single woman when I first got started to do that myself. So I can only imagine how it is for like, people with kids and everything like that. So I would say that's a common misconception in the world of entrepreneurship.
That's crazy.
No.
That's crazy because I'm a jump off the cliff kind of person. So like, I feel like
listen, I'm there with you.
I'm right there. I'm right there.
All I needed was to make one more dollar than my job. I hit that check. I was like, listen, I'm out. It doesn't matter.
Yo, I'll be jumping off some cliffs.
I'm telling you.
Nah, that's real. That's real. So talk to us a little bit about the content creation. Talk to us a little bit about that. So like that in and of itself is a business venture, is entrepreneurship, right? So like talk to us about that. What kind of kickstarted that? Where do you see it going, right? Like all that.
Okay, so what kickstarted that was actually before I got into real estate. I did start like a digital marketing agency where I was basically running Facebook ads and Instagram ads and just learning everything about like all the social media platforms. So I was doing that for like different businesses and just really handling all their ads and everything in their content. And I always wanted a virtual lifestyle, like online, even though like in the Layup Lines, I was talking about working in the office and everything like that. But I always, once I saw how powerful the internet was, I wanted to create a virtual lifestyle for myself. So, and that was one of the ways I was able to do it, because you can monitor, people's businesses, social medias and everything like that online directly. So, basically once I got into real estate, I wanted to apply the same thing for my businesses. So now being an agent, it kind of just made me want to put myself out there a little bit more. So yes, you're right. When it comes to content creation, it's a whole nother business. And honestly, for me, it's really fun. And I really understand how it works. And it's really been beneficial for me on the real estate side of things, because that's how, y'all see my Instagram. That's all I talk about. Like, that's how I'm able to generate my clients and everything like that. So I took it more serious when I started to go all in with YouTube, which was back in March. And so since I started YouTube, I hit like 1,000 subscribers in like 6 months, which is like really, really crazy, because it takes the average YouTuber like 22 months to hit their first 1,000 subscribers. Because most people don't hit 1,000. Yeah, so it's
that's
crazy.
Facts. Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah. So yeah, content creation, YouTube in particular is just a business in itself. So I heard a stat that said like I forget what the stat was, but it's like basically most of like the upcoming generation have more of an interest in becoming an online influencer or something, or a YouTuber, than having like these trade jobs, like an engineer and everything like that. So and becoming like not even necessarily an influencer, but becoming like a business online is like such a high in demand career, because people are seeing that you can literally make money just from posting videos. So that's kind of why also like I wanted to like start taking it serious, because again, virtual lifestyle, and two, like I'm kind of creating another business and just putting out whatever I want to put out, because if I didn't want to do real estate, I wouldn't be putting out real estate videos, but obviously I'm doing real estate and it's important to me. So I create videos around that. So yeah, when it comes to content creation, it's kind of like it became like a passion of mine because I was also into like videography and photography. And for me, it's more so about like capturing moments, but now I'm capturing moments with the intention of being able to educate my audience. So there's a lot that goes into it. I feel like I'm gonna end up rambling.
This is what we need to hear. Probably have you here. This is your expertise. That's why we have you here.
Yeah, because so many people is probably learning from this and probably taking down just gems off of this because you never know what somebody just don't know. So yeah.
Indeed.
Right. Yeah. So I mean,
so
go ahead.
How's the market been like post, I guess, pandemic? I know we still kind of like in this COVID phase, but how has it been like post? Has it been like easier? Plus, with your experience, I'm pretty sure things like making deals and stuff has gotten easier. But how has it been? Like, I know
so the market has been crazy. It's been like really hot. It's been a hot seller's market because during COVID, obviously people like shut down. They didn't want, they don't want to run the risk of other people coming in and out of their houses and potentially getting them sick. So, during the time that COVID happened, there was a lot of people, there was a lot of like stagnants. So after that, after we opened up or whatever, people started wanting to sell their house left and right. But there was more buyers that came in that wanted to purchase than there were sellers. So it was a really hot seller's market. So what happened was that people houses start getting overbid like crazy. Like $200,000 house now selling for like $250,000, which is crazy.
Right.
So that period has pretty much been happening up until now. It's still going on, but now I'm starting to see the market shift a little bit because it went through such a phase of, houses being sold for over market. Now more and more sellers are starting to be like, okay, I want to sell my house for over market value too. But now, because there's more and more houses coming on the market, they're starting to sit a little bit longer. And the buyers are still here. So now they're starting to see like, okay, well, more and more people are starting to sell. So they have more options to buy. So the houses that are overpriced are sitting longer, and the houses that are actually priced at the right value are getting bought up. Yeah, so it's starting to shift a little bit. It's still a hot seller's market where people can still come in and get over market value for their house. But again, those houses are starting to sit more because more and more people are starting to sell. So buyers have more options. So it's, demand and what do you call it? What am I thinking about the word?
Supply and demand.
Yeah. Supply and demand type of thing.
Yeah.
And then let me ask you a question. Oh, I'm sorry. You go ahead, Beast.
Oh, my bad, bro. Oh no, because I was gonna say, I even kind of see that out here, because even in Arizona, like with everything that happened in California, like with certain states that shut down, they're gonna move right to the next state right over, and then all the houses are gonna get bought up. So, but the good thing about out here is that it's just more space, so they just keep building things out here. So it's kind of like a teeter-totter balance with the market. But yes, and some states where you're just surrounded by states where it just been impacted crazy by COVID, like those housing markets is things is just sitting bad.
Arizona is dumb hot.
You say that, like I'm telling you, it's really not that bad. Like it's chilling out here right now. I'm telling you.
I'm not trying
I know so many like really, really successful like real estate agents and investors out there, and it's just the way the houses are going out there is crazy. Like it's just so much like there's a lot going out there. So you're around a lot of that's a perfect place to get involved in real estate.
Let me ask you this, Lillian. What would you say to people who, let's say you have a group of people who want to buy a house and start a business, right? Let's say you have a group of, let's say 6 people. All right. What are some of the preliminary steps you think they should get into if they're trying to buy a house as a business, right? They want to start their own business, but it's about 6 of them. How would you suggest getting that off the ground? What would be some of the first steps of getting that off the ground?
Okay, so they want to start investing in like multiple houses, or they just want to buy one house?
Assume they want to buy one house now, and maybe and flip it for income for monthly stream of income.
Okay. So if you want to buy a house and flip it for monthly income, that would be what's called the BRRRR method. I'm sure you guys have probably heard that, where you buy it, you rehab it. What is it called? I always get confused on all the R's, but you basically buy it, rehab it, refinance, rent, and repeat, and everything like that. So if you have a group of people and they want to buy a house to flip it, you want to buy distressed property, obviously like a fixer upper, flip it, right? And then you want to pull, let's say, I'm not trying to get too advanced or whatever, but let's say you buy a house, a fixer upper for like $100,000. You know that you can flip it for, let's say it'll be worth, after you repair it, it'll be worth $300,000, right? So you basically buy it for 100, right? You flip it, let's say it costs you another 100,000 to flip it. So now you're all in $200,000, but it's really worth $300,000. So at that point, you can essentially, after you flip it, you could refinance it, which is just basically taking out another loan on it and extract the equity from that. So essentially, a lender will allow you to refinance maybe like 70 or 80% of the value. So you can get most of what you already put into the house. You can get that back in like actual money. It's a cash out refinance. So you get that back in cash. So now you guys have essentially the equity you have that cash out, and then you can put it and like rent it out or whatever to however many people, and now you have that cash in hand to go and buy another property and repeat the process. So it's called the BRRRR method. You can probably look it up on your own time to get more information, but that would be the best way to start if you want to flip to then get monthly cash flow. Now if you want to flip and just keep flipping, you just buy for 100,000, sell for 200, you get that $100,000 equity or profit, and then keep doing the same thing. But to get the monthly income, you definitely want to refinance, and then at that point you can rent it out and continue to do the same thing. So use the BRRRR method essentially.
I've seen some Asian dude on Instagram saying that, the BRRRR method. Yeah. Okay.
But if you want to just do it individually, or if you want to just start investing like as a business individually, just start house hacking. That's the easiest way to to go about things, which is essentially buy a duplex, a triplex, or a quadplex, and just move in one unit and then rent out the rest. So if you buy, let's say, a quadplex for your mortgage is, let's say, $2,000 a month, right? And your other units can bring in, let's say, $800 a month. You just live in one unit and have, the other units pay you, what does that equal out to? $2,400 a month, and you get that $400 a month in cash flow, and they're paying down the rest. You're paying down your mortgage. So simply just move in one unit, rent out the rest, have your tenants pay your mortgage, and you can do that. You would just have to live in the house for 1 year, depending on the mortgage that you have, and then just keep doing that each year, and you can build up your portfolio very easily doing that.
Sheesh.
So I did want to ask, what are some strengths as you've seen as being a Black woman inside of the real estate industry, and what are some of the challenges that you've seen that have been opposed your way?
Okay, so some of the strengths have been that it's kind of twofold, right? So it's like, a strength is that you don't see many Black women in real estate. Like you might see some on Instagram, like the really, the big ones in like Atlanta or whatever like that. But in general, like we're probably I think statistically we're the least. Black women and Black men are the least, amount of people in real estate. So when you see, like, for example, like if you see like other like Black guys or Black women like that are actually trying to sell or buy, they'll be like, oh, like I want to do business with you because I want to help my people out. So it's a strength because there's not many of us in there, so we kind of want to help each other out. But at the same time, I guess that's not really in a position that we want to be. We want to have more people involved. But I mean, that's the strength that I've been able to, that I've come across. Now, one of the challenges is kind of the same thing, where it's just like, there's not many of us in it. So it's kind of hard for me to, find, like, I have this tight circle of like people that I talk with who are real estate investors and agents, but like we need more of that, right? So one of the biggest challenges is just not having enough of our people around, you know what I mean? Because our white counterparts, the way that I've been getting business, obviously through social media, but also just like people being like, I want to help my people out, like that's been what white people have been doing for like ever, right? So,
and they know wrong. They never, they do what they gotta do. You feel me?
You can't even be mad. It's like, I'm gonna give my business over to Johnny wherever, because that's
how it
my,
is.
I know him. So
Yep.
it's just like, it's a strength, but it's also a challenge. So,
Understand.
this is neutral, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Lillian, we consumed a lot today.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an episode full of gems for real. We ain't even
Gems for
Yeah,
real.
for real. 'Cause this is wealth to our people. Like this is how we can get wealth. You know what I'm saying? This is the kind of information we need to hear. So we thank you for being here. Before we head out, do you have anything that you're working on right now? Any plugs? You want to plug yourself? Anything?
Yes. So, my biggest plug right now is my YouTube channel. I give out a lot of free information on there, as far as, being a real estate investor and a real estate agent. So if those journeys are interesting to you, or you want to get involved in that, definitely follow my YouTube channel. Again, I'll give you guys a link for it. And then also, when it comes to content creation, I am working on some things, because like you guys said, there are some people who are really looking to like dial in on content creation, especially in the real estate niche. So I've really been helping agents, like, put some more content out there to help them also attract clients. So I am working on an ebook coming up soon, but that's more so of just you following my social media and knowing when I drop it. And I do have a course coming in January. But that's
okay.
down the line. So, yeah, but it's mostly about, like, real estate agents leveraging social media to, build connections, build relationships, and grow their business. So yeah, just follow my YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on TikTok on TikTok as well, because I'm on there. And but I'll give you guys all the links for everything. So yeah, just follow me on my different social channels, and stay tuned for all the things that are coming up soon.
Yes.
Indeed.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This has been a crazy pod full of gems, full of instructions, and just thank you. It's really been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you guys. It was a great episode, and I'm glad to have connected again with Ivan and Devontae. We haven't talked in a while. Bees, I've talked to you more than I've talked to And Steven, it was nice to meet you. I've heard about you and, like, some of your artistic endeavors. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on here today, guys. I appreciate it again.
Absolutely. Listen, before we go, I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Steven. I go by Ugly Steven on Instagram.
Yes, sir. And this is Bees.
Boy, I Robinson 03 _ on all platforms.
And we got Korean Tay _ behind the scenes. Listen, Lillian, before we go, we're going to end on a segment. We got a segment. It's called Finish That Bar. All right. I'll play a song, and you got to jump in singing the song. Last person to jump in lose. All right.
Okay.
We ready?
Let's get it.
Yeah.
It's
a layup. This should be a layup.
Oh, wait. Before you start though, you gotta, so like the loser does have to say like a quick embarrassing story about their childhood if they do lose. So it is some so it is right before we go. So yeah.
Okay. So don't lose. I already know the song, so I ain't gonna.
You cheating, bro.
I ain't judge. I like my people California.
I lost here.
Ivan!
Yeah, bro, I lost, bro.
Bro,
how do y'all not know beaches?
Bro, I'll tell y'all a quick story real quick.
Even gonna hold y'all. Who was that? Justin Bieber?
Yes.
Yeah, bro. Don't nobody be banging that like that, bro.
Bro, that is a banger, bro. That's like all right, bro. I don't want to play this game no more.
I'll tell a quick embarrassing story real quick. So this was probably back in like maybe first or second grade. And this is back when we was wearing the long tee. So I was hyped as hell. I had me a fresh white long tee from Foreman Mills, right? So one day, man, went to school. And man, I had to go to the bathroom. So tell me why I'm in the bathroom. And little boys, you put your shirt underneath your chin. Well, it was too much shirt for my chin, and that thing fell down. I pissed all over the inside of my shirt,
bro.
So yeah, that's a quick little embarrassing story.
Bro, no bullshit. We had dinner for my dad's birthday like 2 weeks ago, or like a week ago, maybe. Bro, that happened to him at the restaurant, bro.
Oh,
he literally, bro, just wearing a button up, bro. And I guess he took it like out of his pants and only picked up one side of the button up, bro. Yeah. Bro. Grown ass.
all over that.
grown ass man, bro. I
Bad
said,
joke.
yeah, it's time.
But yeah, we can wrap it up, man. It's been a blessing. This Side of Jersey podcast, man. Let's get it.
The gang.